Okay, so today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review for Rhythm of War Book 4 in the Stormlight Archive, which will be released on November 17th, 2020. I got an ARC advanced reader copy, and here I am to give a spoiler-free review. After Corey reads it, we'll be doing a spoiler-filled discussion like we have with the other books. If you're new here, I have very long spoiler-filled discussions for each of the books, playlist linked up there and down in the description. But today I'm going to talk about Rhythm of War and how I felt about it. I'm going to give you 3 pros and 3 cons for this book so that you can decide. I mean, you're probably going to read it regardless, but I guess so you can see how I felt about it. My first pro is going to be the world building and small details. It's no secret that Sanderson really loves his world building and is very good at it, especially in this world. If you are one of the readers that loves to just hang out in this world and gets really excited every time Sanderson goes deeper and shows us more about it, you are gonna love this book. There is so much deepening of this world, hanging out within this world, getting to know this world more, as well as those small little details that Sanderson fans, especially Stormlight fans, tend to love piecing together and getting a little bit more information on. If you're one of those people that's in the forum constantly putting pieces together, constantly finding little connections, this book will make you very happy because there's a lot of that here. And as always, Sanderson did a great job of making his world incredibly rich and incredibly fun to spend time in. My first con is going to be pacing. Did this book need to be 1,200 pages? Not even a little. Which is weird because I don't typically complain about Sanderson's pacing. I'm generally thrilled with how expansive he is while also constantly keeping things moving in a really exciting way, and I just didn't feel that with Rhythm of War. In my opinion, Rhythm of War didn't have... Sanderson always takes his time with all of his Stormlight books, but Rhythm of War, I think, had the least ideal pacing to it. I definitely feel that this could have been condensed several hundred pages and still been a very strong story. But on top of that, it's not just the page count, because obviously all these books are chunkers. They're all around the same page count. But on top of some things feeling like they didn't need to go on as long as they did, there were also things that I felt didn't have near enough focus, which I'll get into in a minute. It's kind of hard to describe spoiler-free, but there were certain things that I felt were a bit drawn out, and then there were other things that I felt, wow, we really needed more time with this in order for it to have impact. Going off of that, my next pro is a fantastic beginning and end. So a lot of you guys have already read the preview chapters. You know that the beginning is really exciting. I actually think Rhythm of War was my favorite beginning, my favorite part 1 of all 4 Stormlight books that are out currently. It had such a tight and fun yet emotional beginning. I had really high hopes, but I didn't feel that for the majority of the rest of the book. However, part 5 was a great ending. This is spoiler-free, so that's all I'm gonna say. Should I also say... I'll say this, Sanderson is always good at his endings, and he surprised me with this one, and I'm thrilled with the way it went. I really enjoyed it. It was great setup for the next book, as well as very satisfying and fun in the way it was done. Again, when the spoiler-filled video comes, we will expand. My next con for this book is character movement. So we have 4 main characters in this series, and I was really honing in on these 4. I was really bummed with the amount of movement these 4 had in this book. So for some context, if you're new here, Book 1, The Way of Kings, I adored. It was a very character-focused book while also establishing a world and a theme and a tone. I loved it. Rhythm of War is my favorite in the series. It was more character and plot. Loved it. Book 3, it wasn't as character focused. We had a big focus on Dalinar, but other than that, it wasn't a huge character focus. And I am very much a character reader. I love the world. I love the magic system. I'm very interested in plot, but I'm also interested in character. I'm a selfish reader. I like all the things. But if I had to pick one that was the most important to me, characters, being attached to characters, is a really huge factor for me, which is a big reason why Oathbringer was my least favorite of all of them. Dalinar was great, but the rest of them, there wasn't as much of a focus and there wasn't as much movement. In Rhythm of War, that continues on, but more. Again, can't go too deep into it, but I was pretty disappointed with our 4 main characters with how much movement they got. Some of them really disappointed. And by movement, I mean arcs. How did they change emotionally? What did they do? How much usefulness did they have in this book? How much page time did they have in this book? Some of them I was pretty bummed about. But going back into prose, we're still on characters. The characters that Sanderson did actually put focus on, he did so well with. So we already know that this is Vinley and Eshonai's book. This is their book of backstories, which I will say, if you were disappointed in hearing that, like I was, he did such a good job with it. I'm actually so impressed with how well he did with Vinley and Eshonai's chapters. These are characters that I've never really had a huge attachment to. I've never cared about their chapters all that much in the past. I was really into their story in this one. He did a great job, as he always does, in having me invested in the characters that he wanted me invested in this time. There's also a massive focus on Navani in this book, who has always been one of my favorite characters. I love Navani, and I loved getting so much time with her in this book. I love the role she played, and I just enjoyed spending this amount of time with her. It was definitely her time to shine after the buildup she got in Oathbringer, which I loved her in Oathbringer. Giving her more of a spotlight in this book was so fitting and so satisfying. So the characters that Sanderson decided on focusing on, he did such a phenomenal job with, and I enjoyed every moment I got with them. I just feel like there are certain characters that he didn't put that much focus on, and they kind of fell off the map, and that was pretty disappointing because I've spent a lot of time invested in those characters. I'm not gonna say who I felt that way about because that feels too spoilery, but again, we'll get into it more in the spoiler-filled discussion. My final negative about this book is, again, going to be difficult for me to fully explain spoiler-free, and that's emotional stakes. There were so many emotional stakes in books 1 and 2. I felt it less in book 3. I feel it even less in book 4. That's really hard for me to get into, so I will summarize it. I will say it spoiler-free this way. There were certain things that came up that were very theatrical and really fun to read, but it always had to go a certain way. And so the emotional stakes weren't there. I didn't worry, I didn't fear, I didn't wonder. And in certain scenes, the resolution felt convenient, unearned. So I didn't feel attached to the resolution. On top of that, there were other things that happened that I was frustrated with because it was meant to be a big emotional payoff, but there wasn't the buildup that needed to be there in order for me to feel any sort of payoff. And a lot of that probably has to do with stuff that I've talked about before, not focusing on certain characters, pacing being a little bit choppy. Certain things just didn't have the emotional effect that they needed to have, that they were supposed to have, that I think Sanderson was looking for. And a lot of that is to do with the buildup that wasn't there for certain characters. And yes, there have been 3 books of buildup, but I'm talking about specific plot points that were supposed to happen that did happen, but I felt needed more buildup for that plot point with the character in order for it to do what it needed to do. Again, you understand by now. We'll talk about it more spoiler-filled. Overall, I had pretty mixed feelings about this book. I had a ton of fun reading it. I enjoyed myself reading it the whole way through. I read it a lot faster than I would normally read a book of this size, partially because I'm already established in the world, I'm already established in the characters, I'm already invested in it all, and I want to know. I was enjoying reading this book so much. Even the complaints I had, I still had fun reading those things. My theory, which I'm not telling you how you're gonna feel, do what you want, my theory is that if you loved Oathbringer, you will likely also love Rhythm of War. If you found yourself a little disappointed with the Oathbringer entry, I think that you may have similar feelings with Rhythm of War. This was easily my least favorite entry in the Stormlight Archive, but I still had a great time reading it, and I still obviously recommend it. And it was great setup for book 5, and I'm very excited for book 5 to come. So there you go, those are my 3 pros and 3 cons for Rhythm of War. I'm really excited to discuss this with you when it does come out. I post videos most weekdays. This video came out on a Saturday. Sorry for being inconsistent. Pre-order link will be in the description. Check out my Patreon if you want to buddy read this book with me and a bunch of other people. I've already read it, but I'll be a big part of the discussion. Be sure to chat with me more about this in the comments. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.